stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For the information of the public, one of our members, Brenda Rappaport, is joining us online tonight. And the town of Burlington will be holding this January 18th, 2024 meeting as a hybrid meeting. The governor issued an executive order on March 12th, 2020, authorizing remote meetings under General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, and extended by Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, including permitting remote meetings and participation until March 31st, 2025.
As always, members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast. For members of the public with a particular interest, should make plans for in-person versus virtual accordingly. Those seeking to attend remotely can do so by townofburlington.webex.com. Our meeting number is 2354-711-1867. You can join by phone at 1-617-315-0704. Members of the public who are looking to participate remotely, please raise your hand and in the WebEx, and staff will send a request to unmute at the appropriate time. The meeting is being broadcast on the BCAT government channel. You can find that on Comcast 99, RCN 15, and Verizon 41. It's also streamed on Facebook Live via the BCAT government Facebook page.
Thank you. We have one item being continued tonight. May I have a motion?
We need to start with a roll call.
Oh,
You need to start with the BCAT.
okay, you're right. Roll call.
Chairman LaRue.
Here.
Rappaport.
Present.
Sutherland.
Yep.
Impemba is not here. Covino.
Here.
Natola.
Yes.
Gaffney.
Yes.
Okay, so that is 6 present, 1 not yet present. So we have a continuance.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to take item 7A out of order for discussion purposes.
Second.
LaRue.
Yes.
Rappaport. Brenda.
Oh, she's not.
Sutherland.
Yes.
Covino.
Yes.
Natola.
Yes.
Gaffney.
Yes.
Okay. Item H is a continued public hearing, application for approval of a special permit pursuant to 4.3.14G, wireless communications facilities, which are subject to Section 8.4.0, shall be permitted in the wireless communications overlay districts in accordance with the map depicting the districts and the provisions of Section 1.0 of the zoning bylaws. Of the zoning bylaws, 27 Blanchard Road, Dish Wireless LLC is the applicant.
So just an update. So we saw this particular item, I think back in November, the last meeting in November, and they wanted to tweak their site plan a little bit. And we said, just continue, and once you get that updated, we can move forward. And their engineers haven't updated it yet, so
Okay.
that's the reason why they're continuing.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to continue this matter to the Planning Board meeting of February 1st, 2024.
Second.
LaRue.
Yes.
Rappaport.
Yes.
Sutherland.
Yes.
Covino.
Yes.
Natola.
Yes.
Gaffney.
Yes.
We also have an item that is seeking an extension of time. May I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that the Planning Board hereby grants a 1-year extension of time from February 3rd, 2024 to February 3rd, 2025 to complete the required special permit and site plan improvements at 1 Burlington Mall Road as requested by the applicant in an email dated January 11th, 2024.
Second.
LaRue.
Can
we
you
have
give us an,
discussion on that?
yeah, what is the reason for this?
So the reason for this is they are having financing, I think, is really the issue. So
Is this the Life Science building at the Marriott? Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Okay.
So this is a life science building at the Marriott. They're building it to spec for a potential tenant. And the way that, the stock market is and the economy is right now, it's hard to get capital. So I think they're kind of biding their time.
Okay.
In order to do it, but they are pre-permitted, and there is interest. They're still in contact with us, and so I think they're just waiting for the right time to pull the trigger on it.
Okay.
Is Leahy still parking there?
I believe they are, yes.
I drive by all the time. I did see construction, Like when you're gonna like knock down a building and you have to put the,
Screening.
I saw the screening up and it's relatively new, so they're not doing anything right now?
Not that so the Marriott itself they might be doing interior work that I don't know about.
It's towards the end though where they would be doing, where Leahy Parks.
I'll have to double check in the building permit files and see what's going on. I'll double check and let you know.
Brenda's raising her hand.
Yes, Brenda. Actually, I don't know.
Give her again.
You said they have a potential tenant. Do they have a lease in place, or are they working on a lease, or is this just, just speculation?
I believe that they do have a tenant in place, Brenda. They do not have a tenant. They don't, their building, I think it's built to spec, and they don't have a tenant ready to build out for. So at this time, they're not, I think they're kind of slowing their roll a little bit.
So what are the ramifications if we don't approve this extension?
They would,
Need to come back to re-permit both their site plan and special permit application.
Okay.
Bill, did you have a question?
I did, Madam Chair, thank you. Have we been in contact with Leahy to see where they're going to be parking next?
I have asked them. They have not been forthcoming. So I kind of have like been asking, so what's the deal? You know, and they're very quiet about it. So I have asked for.
Okay, maybe they don't have a plan yet. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions from the board? Okay. Roll call on this one, right?
Yes, you guys need to roll call vote.
Yes.
So do we have a second?
We did.
All right, so LaRue,
Yes.
Rappaport, Sutherland,
Yes.
Impemba,
Abstain.
Cavino,
Yes.
Natola,
yes.
Gaffney.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is public participation. Is there anyone in the audience here or online who would like to speak on a matter that is not on our agenda? Please raise your hand.
I do not see anybody online.
Seeing no one, we will move on to announcements.
So it's crazy to think about, but January town meeting is happening this Monday, January 22nd at 7 p.m. at the high school auditorium. And then obviously it will be continued to Wednesday if it goes more than one night. The final warrant is available on the town website. If you guys want hard copies, let me know. I can get them to you. But it's coming up fast. We are getting ready to really kickstart the MBTA communities process to become compliant with the state law. So I am, put it in your calendar, it's a TBD. The first working group, MBTA communities working group is gonna be Wednesday, January 31st at 5. I have a placeholder in for the consultants then as well. And I have reached out to various boards and committees to, for people to be on the working group with me, and those are trickling in, so we're going to be getting going. The goal is to vote to have the MBTA Communities Overlay District approved at May town meeting. The Sculpture Park Committee is happening Monday, January 22nd at 8, and that's via Cisco WebEx. And I would just like to, even though she's not here, we have a new recording clerk. Julie Falkingham is our new recording clerk. We recently hired her. She does minutes for for the Board of Health and Land Use. She's at the Land Use Committee meeting. They're overlapping with our meeting right now, so she's going to watch this virtually and record virtually, but I just wanted to welcome her, and we're really glad to have her. She's awesome. And that's all I have, Madam Chair.
Okay, well, welcome, Julie. Thank you for helping us. And moving on, we do not have any legal notices or non-approvals.
Madam Chair?
Yes?
Further announcement, if I could.
Oh, of course.
I'd just like to send my, and I'm sure the board's condolences to Alfay's family on his passing. He was a member of the planning board for a while, and selectmen, and numerous other organizations in town. To his wife Joyce and family. And also I noticed that Joan Hastings, who was a I didn't realize who was a charter member of town meeting.
Yeah.
And really active, has passed away, so.
Thank you, Ernie,
Everybody
thank
else.
you. I appreciate that.
And, my gosh, I can't think, O'Keefe, Jack O'Keefe
Oh, really?
was our, one of our electrical inspectors for a while, and his brother Peter worked with the town,
Yeah.
and even when Jack left that office, he's helped the town out in other ways as well. Another very active person, so yeah, all three of them.
Bad month for Burlington.
Unfortunate time
Yeah.
in Burlington's history here, yeah.
Okay,
Can't
thank you
blame the
both.
water anymore, that's for sure.
No.
Okay, thank you both. So we do not have any administrative matters or matters of appointment. We're moving on to discussions, and our first discussion item is a presentation regarding the Fox Hill School Project overview. Please come forward and have a seat, and if you could start by identifying yourselves for the record, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
I'll start. Good evening. Can you hear me? Great, thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Vivian Lowe. I am with Danisco Design. We are the architects for the Fox Hill Elementary School. I'm the principal in charge, and
I'm Neil Harrigan. I'm the project manager for the Fox Hill School for Danisco Design.
And Bob Cuna, Director of Operations from the school department. Thank you.
we also want to introduce Andrea O'Toole. She is part of the owner's project manager team that's part of this project as well. Hi. So we do have,
I'm supposed to be sharing, but my computer does not connect to the network when I switch buildings.
Oh.
So I'm restarting.
So we'll restart, and I'll take that opportunity to ask all of you to please pull the mics very close and speak loudly, because it's not that clear. Thank you. It'll come up. If you have some things you want to tell us that don't require visuals, you can start. Or if you'd rather wait, that's fine.
yeah, you know, what we can do is introduce the project a little bit more than what we have on the slide. So we really appreciate this time to meet with you and to talk a little bit about the process. So the Fox Hill Elementary School is an MSBA supported project, as you may all know, and so it's a very prescribed schedule and process. We've been at this for almost a year. We have just wrapped up the feasibility study phase for this project. As part of the MSBA process, we were required to study many different options. It started with 2 enrollment options, combined Fox Hill Pine Glen option for 640 students, and Fox Hill only school for 325 students. So after
Did you say 325?
325 students, yeah. We did a few options. We reviewed a repairs only, which would only replace systems and address accessibility and code issues for the school. We looked at an addition renovation option, both at Fox Hill and Pine Glen for the combined school, as well as for the individual school just at Fox Hill. And we looked at new construction for the combined enrollment at both the Pine Glen site and the Fox Hill site. And then a 325 Fox Hill only option at Fox Hill. So we had many different options to look at. We had a lot of community input. And what came of it was really, the community really desired a neighborhood school for Fox Hill only. So that is where we...
Question. That was a vote of the school building committee or of the school committee?
School building committee,
The school building committee voted to move forward with the 325 student option.
yes.
Okay, so that's not a vote of the school committee?
So in addition to, the school committee also did make
was
a vote.
both.
Yeah, but as
Okay.
part of the MSBA process, it recognizes the school building committee
Okay.
as the team that makes the recommendation to move forward into the next phase.
So the school building committee makes a recommendation to town meeting or to the school committee?
To both.
To both? And then the school committee also voted?
So,
I just want to understand the process.
sorry, through the chair, ultimately, at some point, we will hopefully get to the point where we're asking town meeting for funding.
Okay.
Right now, since we're just in the discovery phase, more the conceptual phase of the process, is really just seeing what options we think that the school building committee thinks is the best option.
Okay.
Right,
And
so then
when-
they'll make a recommendation for us to move forward before we even seek any town funding.
When do you think you'd be going to town meeting for funding?
So,
If you
again,
don't know, that's an answer, too. You don't have to tell me if you don't know.
It's likely this fall, this coming fall.
Fall of '24.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. So additionally,
Actually, we have, one of our members has her hand up. Brenda, did you have a question?
I'm just a little confused. Why would we propose building a school that doesn't satisfy the current population of the existing school?
Why?
I mean, and I'll be frank, both of my children go to Fox Hill School, and, you know, there are trailers there. So, I mean, are we building a new school with matching trailers? Or I'm just a little confused. Or are we going to be displacing children and moving into Memorial? I mean, what's the end game? Because this isn't logical.
do you want to answer?
yeah. Again, I don't think right now we can give you that answer, and the reason we can't give you that answer is that no decision has been made yet, right? So what MSBA does is give a projection of what they will look at for enrollment. Then it's for us being the town and the school building committee, to see if that fits into our town for funding, town for education, right? So 325 is more about not just the actual number of students that are there, but about the square footage that MSBA will allow us to build for classrooms, right? So if we looked at the square footage of our building right now, MSBA would say that we should have less kids in that building than technically we have in there, right? So it's the same scenario there. That gives us the footprint of what we're able to build, and then we have an allowance for how many students we can actually place in there, which will be part of a further discussion. But again, we're not ready yet to say that that's our final decision.
How many students are currently at Fox Hill?
About 430.
And what's projected?
When? Because the projection over the next 10 to 15 years is projected to go down.
About how much?
Again, by the school, roughly about 60. By the whole entire district, roughly about 200 to 250 is projected over a longer period of time.
And is that based on the current districting plan, or is that based on a possible redistricting?
That is based on MSBA's formula, right? So MSBA did a study where they took all of their experience, took all of our data, and then turned around and said, here's our projection for the next 30 years, right? Then they turned around and said, based on the square footage of buildings that you have for elementary, here's a projection that gave us that 325 and the 640 number for combinations.
Okay, so if I'm understanding this correctly, if MSBA's projections are correct, sometime in the next 10 or so years, we should expect the enrollment of Fox Hill to go down from 430 to 370.
Yeah.
But we're building a school for 325 kids.
Right. Again, we would need a longer explanation for this, but again, quite simply, that is based off of MSBA using a number of 18. We currently have more than 18 kids in a classroom in that building right now, but based on 18 divided by, 325 divided by 18, that gives us the number of classrooms that they will allow us to build. So this is a formula, not just a enrollment number. So if we get stuck on the hard number of 325, we lose the square footage and the fact of how big of a building we're able to build with MSBA's formula.
So then, in order to accommodate more than 325 children, we would have to have more than 18 children per classroom? Am I following you?
Which we currently do. So if we were looking at that configuration, is a different conversation than whether or not how many classes we can build in the new building. So
Okay.
Yeah, this isn't making sense to me. So who came up with the 325 number?
MSBA.
He said.
Well, they had two
Eight.
options. We had two options that MSBA came up with, I think, right?
So MSBA takes all of the data historically, and they look at future projections, and they look at it throughout the entire district, not just for the one school or the two schools. They look at the entire district. They look at space utilization, and they come up with this enrollment projection.
Thank you. Madam Chair,
Yeah.
just another question. Maybe to the folks here. Are they taking into account the requirement for the MBTA additional housing? So we're required as an MBTA community to build additional housing, to zone for, excuse me, to
Zone
zone
for
for
it, yes.
additional housing. Is that being taken into consideration?
I don't, if the development has not already been planned, I don't think they have a number that they can apply to the projected enrollment.
It sounds like a conflict to me, because the state here comes up with a number, they say it's going to go down, but the state is also requiring zoning for additional housing, which will make the number go up.
Right.
It has no, it's
Yeah.
good for people to talk to each other. So, thank you, Madam Chair.
I think what you're hearing is our concern that we, the town, may be building a school that upon its opening will be too small for the students it's supposed to serve. And
Yeah,
I'd like to know if there's a plan for that, and this is probably not a question for the consultant, but rather for the school committee, but they're not here.
Right. Yeah, again, since we're not finalized and we're not that far into the phase, I think it's really a conversation for the school building committee and the school committee, further on into the process. Because
But you've chosen this path, the 325-student school, and that's the path we're going down, right? So it's sort of like it's time to discuss.
Well, again, I think what I'd like to say to the committee here is that, what I already said earlier, is that if we get stuck on the number 325, we're going to lose sight of the fact that this building would be approximately 1.5 times the size of the current building. There'll be additional classroom spaces that are currently in the building now. There'll be additional learning spaces. So again, what's considered a classroom versus a teaching space. We're also bringing programs into this. So we have lab programs right now into the Fox Hill. So we'll have lab space in there. So this building that we're looking at, again, based on the formula that MSBA puts in front of us, gives us a rough projection of a 92,000 square foot building. We're at about a 60,000 square foot building currently. So again, if we just look at the number 325, we're going to get lost. If we look at MSBA's projection to say 325 allows us the square footage calculation to build a building that's 1.5 times the size of our current building, you'll see that there's actually a lot of room for growth and a lot of room to fit, a lot more students in there and a lot more space than we currently have.
So putting the 325 aside, what does Burlington, I guess it would be administration or maybe a school committee, I'm not sure which, what does Burlington project it will have? How many students does Burlington project will be in this building?
I think too early for me to answer that, because that's not really the conversations that we're having yet. I think anytime we build a new school, every single year we look at redistricting anyways, right? So even last year we had to redistrict a small number of students in order to make some equity within the classrooms. We'll continue to do that yearly, and then when we'll look at an opportunity like a new building, to redistrict if needed. So again, to project 3-4 years out, there's some conversation, but some real hard numbers aren't defined yet because the building isn't finalized.
So it's an estimation.
Just a quick question, Bob, if I could. So the building that we're going to eventually end up with is going to be larger than what's there now. Do we have any contractual or contracts with MSBA or whatever, once we accept their money to use the building the way they are projecting, or can we use it the way we want? In other words, could we put 22 kids in a classroom with there's no contract that says we can't, or use a room that the state says is projecting we're going to use as one thing, we could use it for another? I mean, how we use the building after it's built is up to the town, correct?
Ultimately, we are able to adapt to our educational needs in the long term, so the answer is yes. And as far as the number 22 versus 18, again, if we get stuck on numbers, we're going to
Yeah,
lose
no,
the fact and sight, right? So 18 gives us the calculations on how big of a building we can build. That's it. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I'm sure. But there must be, I mean, the state, there must be guidelines or recommendations of classroom sizes and things like that they should be going by, right? So it seems to me that the 18 isn't even probably, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure what the recommendation of classroom sizes are, but, you know, at completion, would this be able to accommodate the recommended classroom sizes? Because it would be basically,
Yeah, if I could answer that. They would be, their recommendation normally for MSBA is 24. That's their average. And Superintendent Conti negotiated with the MSBA to allow Burlington to use 18 students per classroom. That's why we have the number of classrooms that we have in the building.
What is Burlington's average class size now?
Right around 18. 18.9, so right around 18.
But Fox Hill is higher.
18.9.
If, so again, the averages, we have higher and lower, of course, across the
Oh, okay.
district, just for elementary.
Okay.
But yeah, so
Okay.
if you look at the number of classrooms at Fox Hill, again, it's higher than Pine Glen, higher than Memorial. There's a larger population there in that building than at every one of our elementaries except for Francis Wyman. So Francis Wyman's our highest.
Fox Hill has more kids than Memorial?
Yeah.
Wow. Cool. Brenda Rappaport has her hand up. Brenda, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have a couple questions. When you're calculating the square footage, you keep saying in the building, in the building, in the building, but is that square footage, like, do you calculate the square footage of the trailers that are currently being used? Is that included in the equation? And then, you know, okay, and then, and that being said, can you provide, I mean, if you don't have it on hand, can you provide staff with the criteria of the formula that, you know, that you're saying, you know, the state has given you to put forth, you know, what exactly they feel this building, the size of this building should be?
Yes.
If you don't have it on hand, that's fine, I get it. I mean, it's an intricate formula at this point, but.
I just want to make a statement. I hope I'm correct. If not, I'll correct it later on. It's in the statement of interest, and that information is on the Fox Hill website, but it is something that if it's not there, that I can get for this committee.
Okay. If you could get, I'd appreciate that. One thing I would like to point out, and you know, I appreciate the fact that you did say at the beginning that you guys are in the early stages. The beauty of you folks being here this evening is, you know, anything that's built in the town of Burlington, somebody from planning has been involved. And after multiple requests, personally, and I know other board members have also requested being part of this process, we have not been until you folks have shown up today. And I appreciate the fact that you have come here to present in front of us, but where you are in this infancy stage and decisions haven't been fully made or enforced, I urge you to work with us going forward and ensuring that things are done properly, because, you know, what goes on inside those walls of the school, I don't think anyone from the planning board really is concerned with what happens in the exterior of that building, where it's placed, traffic studies, things of that nature. That is our purview. And whether it be the police station, Third Ave, a life science building in the parking lot of the Marriott, planning board's always involved. And for some reason, we have not been involved to date. And that's a great concern of mine. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. It looks like the presentation is up. Do any other board members have questions before we let them get to the presentation? Yes, please go ahead, Tony.
No, I was going to say I'll probably have them after the presentation.
Okay, please go ahead. Thank you. Right.
Thank you very much. So we'll start out by talking a little bit about the existing conditions for the school. Next. doesn't want to behave. Uh-huh. All right, so the Fox Hill Elementary School site is 37, just under 38 acres. About 18 acres of it is usable. It is bounded by a couple of wetland areas that are actually, one of the wetlands is in Wilmington, the other is right on the border, and then to the southeast is a vernal pool and wetland. These really serve to define the characteristics of the site. It's a beautiful site, well wooded, some walking trails that we really think is a community asset that we want to make sure we continue to celebrate. The existing school sits right smack in the middle of the site with a fairly large parking lot. The school is about 64,000 square feet. It does include the modular classrooms. That's where the lab program is currently housed. The building is a single-story, snowflake-shaped, really inefficient, and small spaces, really does not meet today's educational needs. So we have already had the wetlands flagged and received an order of resource area delineation, and we are on the way to planning a school. And it's going to be a 91,000 square foot school, and as Bob said, it's about 1.5 times the existing school size. Next. The school is over 50 years old. In fact, 1967, I think,
Yep.
was when it was constructed. It's been pretty well maintained, although all the systems are fairly old, really beyond their useful life. Windows, the building envelope, none of that meets current code requirements, energy code, and so it really is inefficient, and the systems, the heating system is really old. The parts are becoming really obsolete. So at the very least, the systems need to be replaced. The school is, for the most part, has a lot of accessibility components, but not everything's 100% accessible, though one could say that you can get around it fairly well. Next. And again, this, some of the spaces are really undersized based on the MSBA space standards. The gym is really undersized. The classrooms, when you measure the square footage, is pretty good, but they're triangular shaped, so again, really inefficient and not really well-suited for teaching or learning. They're also lacking support spaces. There are often pull-out instruction and hallways. They've made really good use of some of these central hallway areas, creating offices where they actually shouldn't have offices. So again, really in need of some space. Next.
I remember those pie-shaped classrooms.
Oh, and
I went there.
the best thing is with accordion walls,
Yes.
right? So there
as well.
is no acoustic separation, and really difficult for learning. We understand that Burlington is a green community, and we have already talked to folks. There is a sustainability working group where we've discussed goals for sustainability. This building, we're looking at a net zero energy, or at least net zero energy ready building. We are anticipating there would be solar panels on the roof, potentially on the parking lot. It will be all electric, and we're looking at a geothermal well system. We're going to further study whether we can harvest rainwater, but we want to be cognizant of the fact that there are wetlands and vernal pool and little critters that we want to make sure survive this process. We also know that where the new building code is rolling out, and the new energy code is already in place. So we're going to be designing actually beyond the stretch code, because part of the MSBA support is we get additional points when we meet certain criteria for energy efficiency. So that's one of our goals.
I would just say there's also some energy incentives from Mass Save and also the IRA, the federal program. So those things actually help offset the cost of the geothermal, and actually making it more cost effective than just boilers and the traditional systems we would use.
Yeah. Thanks. You want to talk about that?
Sure. So I don't know if it was clear, but in this past year, we've studied 9 different options of sizes of schools, whether it's 2 stories, whether it's 3 stories. So we apologize for not coming before you earlier, but we were not sure what we'd be showing you because we had so many options. It'd be complicated to say, it wouldn't really make sense. Anyway, so eventually, the school building committee settled on a 2-story option to the north of the existing school. If you see on the site plan, there's a dashed red line in the shape of the existing school. So this configuration will allow us to keep the existing school functioning with adequate bus drop-off and parent drop-off, and allow us to build the school at the same time. So that was a big advantage. We also worked on the way the parking and the drop-off works, because right now there's some issues with when parents are coming in the afternoon, they back up Fox Hill Road and some Westwood. So this current design here will take all of the traffic, the queuing of the parents, and wrap it around the parking lot, so there will be no parents waiting on those streets.
Do you want us to hold our questions till the end or ask at the end of each slide?
It
Either way,
might be
yeah.
easier if you asked during the slide, that way we can
Yeah.
answer right away.
So
Dialogue.
I don't know if you've had a traffic study done for this particular configuration. I'm curious about that. It looks like there's no ring road that goes around the entire school, so I'm curious to know what your proposed pickup and drop-off plan is, because I can't really tell from this. And that's going to be very key, because I know there are complaints about traffic backing up onto Fox Hill.
Sure. So as far as public safety, there will be access 360 degrees around the school.
For
The kind of
safety, but
beige
not
area will be like play.
parent drop-off, right?
Not for parents. This is just for fire trucks and emergency
Okay.
vehicles. As far as the parents drop off, they'll come to that traffic circle, and then that southernmost leg they'll take and wrap around the parking lot. You can kind of see there's blue area that looks
Okay,
like little
yes, I
parking
see.
spaces. That'll be the queuing space for the parents.
Wait a second, I missed that. Where are they exactly going? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that would
point
help.
out.
Thank you.
I didn't.
Bob, go ahead. You can move that if you
They'll
need.
come in,
Oh, not too far, though.
Yeah, the
Fox Hill Road.
yeah,
This is the parking lot here, again, conceptual only, right, and around here, drop off, main arrow is the main entrance, and then exit the property. There's full access around the whole building for emergency access.
okay.
This is a proposed receiving right here, and this is proposed bus drop off. So buses would come in here, drop students off, come in this arrow, you could do deliveries back here, and you could continue all the way around. In the event of an emergency, not while there's standard class going on, but parents who queue here in the parking lot and drop off.
So they won't go down to Westwood at all, the way they've been backing up at all down there?
Well, they still can go. That is Westwood.
Well, I'm saying, they won't right now.
They
That's
could.
what they, well, not the way they're saying they're gonna go all the way.
Oh, they're not being directed to do it. Yes.
Right, yeah,
Instead of standing here on Westwood,
yeah,
so typically if you see here's the building right here,
yeah,
what would happen is normally you would get about 4 or 5 cars right here,
yeah,
and then they would need to go around the back of the building. But we have a gate, so there's no cars going around the building while school is in session. So a few minutes before 2 o'clock is when that gate is open. That's probably what's causing a lot of the queue in the area. But with this scenario right now, there's roughly 1,000 feet.
Yep,
Yep.
1,000 linear feet.
Which put somewhere in the vicinity of 50, 60, 70
Yeah.
cars
Oh, okay.
into the parking lot.
they definitely needed a plan. I think that'll be way better than what they have right now.
So, seeing where bus drop-off is, how would you handle making sure there's no blocking of buses getting in and out pretty easily?
Yeah, we'll have crossing guards or a a staff person there making sure that there's no one blocking the entrance and exit.
And the bus loop will be designed so that all of the buses can actually queue up around the loop. So we also want to say this is conceptual and very early in the planning stages. We are working with a traffic engineer who has done actually a traffic analysis. The report, I think, is on the website.
Yep.
So if you, and we can also share the report directly with you all if that is desired.
I think that would be a good idea. I've heard things about the traffic report, but I haven't read it myself, so
Yeah.
I think that would be helpful.
So we'll pass that along, sure. The priority is really to separate the car traffic, the parent drop-off from the buses. So this option allows the buses to basically hit that traffic circle and not even get into the site, really. They go right into the bus drop-off area, and that's where the kids would enter or get dropped off.
And, because there's the wetlands right back there, and thinking, about our climate right now, how are you handling like heavy salting back there?
I don't think you're allowed to salt back there, so.
So if kids are walking off of those buses into the school.
Yeah. There are other things that you can use that's not salt, but we, going through the approval process with conservation, there will be an order of conditions that will tell us exactly what we can and can't use. But we appreciate that. Safety is really important, yeah.
I have one more question. So if they were walking, because they have walkers that walk there, where are the walkers going to enter? Where the buses are, or from the front entrance where the drop-off is? To make it safe, how
So-
are they?
Bob's going to show it, but essentially, if they're coming from Fox Hill, they'll go up to the traffic circle, go around the traffic circle. There'll be a crossing guard at Westwood, and then another person will be at the bus drop-off, and they'll continue around to the front of the school.
Because right now, they're walking from the streets, even coming down from Vincent, and then, so then I see a lot of the kids, okay.
Yeah, so it's currently on the side of the road now.
Yeah.
So if we come here, they would cross right here where a crossing guard would be, and then continue here, crossing guard, anyone coming down Westwood, continue on this side, and then
No,
cross here.
that's safe, because I know that was a concern. I got a lot of calls about that, about the speeding, and that the kids were walking, and with the weather, they were very concerned about that, so, okay.
So this plan requires 2 crossing guards?
We currently have two.
Okay, thank you. Bill, you had a question?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question is regarding to safety in emergency vehicles. The current Pine Glen has that road that goes all the way around that's paved,
Yeah.
right? Here, it doesn't look like there's anything that's paved all the way around, so I'm thinking about, this past weekend, we had a little bit of snow. Would you then plow potential clearing to get around the building, or what's your thought on that?
Yeah, the kind of the beige areas around the site will be paved. There'll be like play areas that are paved.
So gray's paved in the light green is paved also?
The light green is grass or,
Okay, so again, help me with around the building.
Yeah, right.
So is the beige paved?
Yes, this
beige.
is all, this light beige
it's all paved.
or hard.
Yeah, and it'll probably have like games painted on it. It'll be colorful. It'll be like a play area.
There's also a playground somewhere, right?
Yeah, so the
Purple, yeah.
purple
Oh, that's
bean
it?
shape
Okay.
will be a poured-in-place
Oh, okay.
surface with play structures on it. And it'll all be, I think we're leaning towards a fully accessible, one large
Good.
playground.
Structure.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
A few other site features I'll point out is those blue dots are the geothermal wells, so we just started planning it, but we have to kind of work out where we can put them, because they have to be drilled while the existing school's functioning, so there'll be a temporary parking lot to the east of the existing school, so that's why the wells are kind of pushed towards the town line there.
So is that, are those baseball fields we see there, sort of underneath where the old school used to be and to the right?
Yeah, so those are just kind of we're working on what is going to go on in that field area. So this is just to demonstrate you could fit 2 softball fields and 2 U10 soccer fields.
Okay.
At a minimum, it'll be at least green fields you could play on. So,
I have one other question, a concern from some of the homeowners in back on Vincent.
Yep.
When the trees are gonna come down, are they gonna go as close, where they are right now on the property? Are they gonna stay the same, or are they gonna take down a lot of trees from?
we're aiming not to cut down many trees at all.
Okay.
If you scroll up a little bit, at the intersection of Fox Hill and the property line there's a little bit of trees you have to take.
Okay.
You could scroll up a little bit.
Concerned about how that was gonna take away their privacy?
You see that dashed green line? That's the current tree line. So we do have to take out some trees to make this fit, but we're trying hard not to.
Just so they
Take out
keep
any
their
if we can.
privacy a little bit.
Yeah, so on the Vincent Road side, there shouldn't be any trees
Any
taken down.
trees, okay, because I got calls about that.
I don't know where Vincent Road is, guys.
It's
I think
the
it's on the
south.
bottom of
It's
this.
south.
Okay, yeah, you
going.
can stop there.
I think that's Vincent.
Sorry.
So that's Vincent.
Yeah, and there's all trees.
And we're not planning to take
We're
out.
not touching those trees.
Okay,
From the Vincent Road side.
okay. I think at the time they got the calls, they were thinking if the building stayed where it was, what was going to happen, but where you're putting it on the other side, I think it sort of covers them.
It was a secondary option that was considered, to
Yeah.
put the building over here, which could have more impact closer to the Vincent Road side,
Yeah,
but that's not really in the
that's good.
But there will be some sort of ball fields over there that potentially could have
Potentially could be.
Potentially.
things going on at nighttime. How close would that be to the houses?
There won't be any lights or anything, so.
There's no lights projected right now.
Right.
There's no I'm sorry.
There's gonna,
No definition or definitive any type of field. At a minimum, it would be grass. But again, we are working with the rec department to get some ideas, working with the athletics department, just to get a concept to see, what do we need. We also have developed a field master plan that both the schools and the rec are working on their own and combining those to see what we really need in the town. So again, too early conceptually to see what fits, but we're not there yet.
If it stayed the way it is right now, they have a field there, and I think they're okay with that because the trees are just so large that it hasn't really affected anybody. So,
I mean, we've recently, I only know because my kids are involved in some sports, there's not enough options actually for lighted fields. I would have expected lighted fields as an opportunity, but I see what you're, based on where the building is, I would agree, like, lights would be disruptive to
To the neighborhood.
the homes right there. And that's why I think this feels a little bit further than infancy stages, again, because we're only
Yes, it
seeing like
does.
the only single option. It would have been nice to understand and see. And honestly, like, I would have expected there to have been conversations with rec and all of that already to be like, what do you need out of this? And then us to see those options, like different setups with fields that support lights, different types of fields. I would anticipate you would want definition of fields. So I guess externally, it doesn't feel like we have a lot of flexibility. So I'm just kind of confused around what we can and cannot change.
So in terms of the location of the building, we really didn't have too many options because there is no swing space in Burlington to move the kids out of the existing Fox Hill School to build a school in that location. So as Bob said, there was one other location on the site adjacent to the vernal pool, very close to the vernal pool. That was one option, and then this location was the other. When you look at how, and we'll have phasing drawings to kind of start thinking about how the school remains operational while we're building this new school. When you think about how we can do this, there really aren't very many options in terms of locating the school. So what we know is that this school is going to be located to the north of the existing, not to the east, that it's a two-story and it's 91,000 square feet. We've developed some preliminary plans for adjacencies because we need to do that for the MSBA to show them that this is how we can meet the educational program for the school. So we have actually, early on, the school committee was very involved in developing the educational program, and that's when they approved the amount of square footage and what actually is going into the school. So they were really heavily involved at the very start of the feasibility study phase. And then it kind of folds into the school building committee as we start bringing the building to shape and locating it and talking about all of the site features. But again, what we're trying to do is show you what we can do on the site for the fields. It's not definitive. We did have a very preliminary meeting with Parks and Rec just to say, you know, what would be ideal, because we needed to understand what we can actually fit. But there are certain programmatic elements that need to fit on the site for the building and for parking. And so as Bob said, it could very well just be an open field, but it could also be some playing fields as well.
So I just want to make sure that this is clear. So this is a conceptual plan. This is not a site, we're not doing a site plan review now.
No.
At some point, if this moves forward, you'll be coming to us for a site plan review. And to answer your question, what can we change? That's when we would be changing things if need be. And that's when we'll address any safety concerns as well. But it's still good to sort of get these questions out there now, but there will be that stage. Joe?
So I have two questions, and one is, let me ask them both, and then, so you can take whichever one you want first. One is going to be, what's the projected building time of the new building, and when would that start? Would that be completely done during school? Would it be done a lot of time in the summertime when the kids weren't in school? Would it be, that's one. And number two, you said that you had looked at options for a 3-story. Not that I'm advocating for 3 stories, but 3 stories would obviously bring the footprint down substantially and allow for more playground space or more ball field space or more, you know, even, to be honest with you, if the building were a little bit higher and you were able to fit fields onto the other side of the building, you probably could have lights and it wouldn't affect anybody, right? Because there's only woods on the other side. So I was just curious as to how those conversations went and how you decided against the 3 and, for the 2 stories versus the 3 and the whole construction
I can start with the construction schedule. Just based on if everything goes smoothly from here to the end, we'll probably start construction in about 2 years. And the project will take about 23 months or so.
So it'll take about 2 years.
Yeah.
About 2 years.
And then it'll be a little bit longer because you'll have to do the demolition of the existing school. It'll probably start
But I mean,
summer.
to the point where you have a school that the kids can then move over to.
Correct, yes.
4 years or so.
I think that's a good plan myself, though, because we replaced the only plan.
And I assume, like Memorial, they're going to build while the kids are in the school, obviously.
Yep.
And then the kids will move over, and then the demolition of the old school will take place.
Correct, yeah, they'll
move has
abate it
taken
and
place
then demo it and then finish because the parking lot is actually, this new parking lot would be in part of the footprint of the existing school. So there's like 3 phases that will have to happen for the completion of the project. As far as the 2-story versus the 3-story, the program that was developed by the school department really lays out much better on 2 floors versus 3 floors. We did a lot of studies of it. There was also a lot of community engagement that they really favored a 2-story school. They thought a 3-story school might be a little intimidating for the young kids.
That's what I heard.
I think from that perspective, I understand that.
But you're right.
From a cost perspective, a 3-story is more cost efficient. I would
Not much,
assume.
though. We did pricing on it. It was a little bit less expensive, but not much.
Okay,
Less than $1 million, I think.
okay.
And then-
And in a projected cost of what? $1 million in a projected total cost of what? So,
70
Yes, 71.
$70 million in construction costs? Yeah.
The total project cost at this point rough cost is under 100 million. It's under 100 million. So again,
Vast difference between 70 million and under 100 million.
Well, 70, so.
One's construction.
One's construction, just to build, and the project cost includes all of the soft costs, right? All the fees, the furniture, equipment, technology, there's a lot of other costs associated, but just in terms of building the building, it's in the,
Thank you.
it's probably somewhere in the 76 million, I think,
And I
somewhere in that
assume,
number.
and I'm not, I don't even want to dig into this because it's really not our purview, but just a curiosity, it used to be that the state would cover 58%. Is that, what are the percentages now?
40, 46.
No, So
44%.
there's a formula that the state has, and while they give you a percentage based on the social economic makeup of the town, there are certain components that are not eligible for reimbursement. So the actual is not the actual number that they give you.
Right. The under 100 wouldn't, the 70 probably would be more likely to be covered with the percentages that they're talking about, right? The actual construction costs?
I'm sorry, say that again?
When you had said 70 million was projected for the building construction itself, that piece should be included in
So
the
it's not,
percentage.
no, because again, the MSBA has a cap on the amount per square foot that they actually consider eligible. And again, it's eligible for reimbursement. So just for instance, say, and they have upped actually their reimbursement. For the longest time, it was in the $330 a square foot, then it went up to $360, then it was I can't remember, 400. So now it's in the
520,
Yeah,
535, I think.
and site costs are also capped. So in the past, it's been 7% of the construction costs is all they'll consider eligible for reimbursement. Anything beyond the 7% is on the town's dime, the town or the city's dime. So it's not a simple, yes, it's a 40% or what have you. There are components that are ineligible that make that percentage actually smaller.
Did you say 7% of the construction cost?
It was. Now they've changed it, and I have so many numbers in my head, I can't keep track of it.
I'm only
We're
basing it on
projecting.
when we did Memorial and Marshall Simons, it was a 58% reimbursement.
If we're projecting that this project in total is going to cost just south of 100 million, how much do we expect we're going to get from the state? That's what you really want to know, right? Roughly.
Yeah, we don't, and I don't know if the OPM can answer that question, but again, there's so many, again, at the end of feasibility,
We don't know.
yeah, at the end of feasibility study, the cost estimates are really they're for comparison sake. So it's to compare all of the different options. But again, at feasibility study, there aren't that many defined elements that the cost estimators can estimate, right? They're not counting toilets, they're not doing takeoffs on drywall. So it's at the end of this next phase, schematic design, that really defines the scope. And this is when the MSBA's contract is determined, how much they'll actually provide for reimbursement.
So that's going to have to happen before May town meeting, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's when we'll all find out.
Yes.
Okay.
Madam Chair, just one.
Please go ahead, Bill.
Just one quick question. When you looked at the options of Pine Glen, did you take a look at what the useful life years left are with Pine Glen? So I kind of we'll do this with Fox Hill, and then we're going to do this with Pine Glen in how many years?
And Francis Wyman.
We didn't do an actual life cycle evaluation. We did do an existing conditions review. Again, it's very well maintained. Really, yeah, it was great. But, it does still have older components for some of the systems. I know that a lot has been replaced, so it's been kept up. We will say that certain components are beyond their useful life, but again, such as the plumbing, some of the plumbing, the infrastructure, right?
It's actually older than Fox Hill.
Yes, it
It's
is.
1964.
It is. And if you can't answer this question, that's okay, but I'm curious to know, not about this specific instance, but based on your vast experience, how likely is it that, or how long is it usually between projects before MSBA is going to support a town in another school project? I can't imagine they're going to do that in a year or two. Do we have any idea how long we'd have to wait?
It could be, no, we don't really know.
Okay.
We can't really answer that question.
Are you asking for Pine Glen or high school purposes?
High school Francis
Either.
Wyman,
Yeah,
Francis Wyman?
name your building.
yeah, we have great need, obviously.
no.
Okay, if you're going to get to this in your presentation, you can tell me to wait, but if not, I was wondering what the process is. So this is just a preliminary meeting. What's next? What has to happen between now and May when you go to town meeting? And when you go to town meeting, what exactly are you asking for? And then what's the next step? Does it have to go to a town-wide vote? What are the steps?
Sure.
No, we're looking at town meeting in the fall.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I misunderstood. Okay,
Right.
I understand. I misunderstood that I misspoke. But do there must be steps along the way. And the town meeting would be, when you go, you're asking them to support this project at a certain cost with a certain projected reimbursement. But then does it have to go to a town-wide vote, or is that it?
My understanding is it will have to go to a debt exclusion vote in the town.
So if town meeting votes in fall of 2024, a debt exclusion vote would not occur till when?
I think it would be in the,
November?
April of 2025, maybe, or May of April 2025, when we have a...
It would have to occur in the fall, so it could be November.
You do it in November 2024, so that'd be a quick turnaround.
Yeah, you have to get agreement.
Okay.
The town will enter into a project funding agreement with the MSBA, and they need approval from the town that they will fund it fully. So that has to happen within so many days of that, them giving you
Okay.
the agreement, what they're
Well,
going
it's
to pay you.
better, actually, if it goes in November 2024, because you're going to get a much higher turnout
Right.
Yeah.
then. So I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah.
I think just for this committee, we're not committing to November 24, because we're saying
understand.
projected, it looks like the fall, roughly August, is when we would be wrapping up our schematic design phase. And then if we're ready at that point and MSBA agrees with our projections, then we can move into the funding phase, which would put us on target for maybe a September town meeting, maybe.
Okay.
And if we're ready for that, then we could look at November for elections. If we have to look at a January or a special town meeting, again, that could
April,
change. So
okay.
Exactly, so.
Yeah, that seems,
the MSBA allows 120 days from the time, so August is when the MSBA board meets, and that's when they vote to approve
Okay.
the project moving forward, and then they give you 120 days to secure funding for the project.
personally, I would like to see you move this forward on that schedule with a vote of, if you have to go to a townwide vote, I think that should happen in November 24, because we all know the turnout, the difference between a presidential election turnout and a town election turnout, there's no comparison.
70%.
Yeah. So I think that would be advisable. All right. Sorry, I know we're taking a long time asking lots of questions.
That's okay, we don't have a lot of slides, so we were
Okay.
trying to keep it high level here, because we didn't want to bore you with a million options.
Oh, it's not boring.
So this preferred option, we have a couple of site sections just to show you. The site looks like it has a lot of topography, but it's actually relatively flat. If it's possible to zoom out a little bit.
It's frozen everywhere.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I'll stop sharing and reshare it.
Okay.
okay.
Part of the site section showed that the houses like on Vincent are really quite a distance from the school, so they should be less impacted than they are now by the school.
if
And there won't be any traffic going through the back of the school like it does now.
you use the scenario you have, it's going to be way further. It's going to be a lot better.
Yeah,
School
it'll
would be
be,
much further away. If they decide to put lighted fields in, they would be
Then they'll be
very different. That would be
impacted.
very different.
They'll be, but they have a field there now, but they're more to the back. They're not where the
Are they
people
lit?
are. No,
No.
not lit, but they are there.
yeah, I think they just have one softball field right now,
Yeah.
Okay.
so.
But they used to have like stuff up on the hill anyway years ago.
So,
This, do you want to, or we could skip this if you want, just let me know what you want to do.
no, this is fine. So part of, we'll go to the next slide. I'll show you the plans. So we worked with the school department really to come up with the ideal adjacencies, and we've actually just recently flipped the plan, so that's how, things are still fluid right now. But the left side of the plan shows the academic wing, so those are all the classrooms, and outside each classroom is what we call a project area, where there'll be like lockers and a space for potential one-on-one pull-out of students. The building's kind of designed so that left side can be secured from the public spaces, the gym and the cafeteria, which are on the right side. So that red rectangle is the gym. It'll be about 7,000 square feet, which is more than twice as big as the current gym. So it'll give you a full high school-sized basketball court with sufficient run-out so that you can safely play on it. We're also planning to put in some bleachers, more than we normally would, because I think Dr. Conti anticipates there being some community use of the facility. The two orange spaces to the north side, one to the right is the cafeteria, and the one to the left is the kitchen. So that we also anticipate having some public uses. So the main entrance is in the middle, that kind of little red triangle. So you come in the middle of the building, and we've designed it so you can kind of, the white spaces represent the circulation. So if you look straight ahead, you can actually see out into the woods. And to the right of that entrance is the office, so have a secure, like Sally Port type vestibule. You'll have to kind of ring an A phone to get into that vestibule, and then you can talk through a window, a teller window, to the staff, and they'll determine if you're a valid visitor, and they'll let you in at that point. So it'll be very secure. It's kind of like you have right now. And so once you enter the school, again, we will have probably doors to the left of that entrance so that we can secure the academic wing, and then all the public functions will be on the right. So there'll be admin, gym, there's some like physical therapy and occupational therapy spaces, as well as there'll be toilets, and the stage is to the right of the cafeteria, and a music room.
I know that, I don't know if this is currently true. Years ago, when my daughter was in elementary school, there was space at Francis Wyman where all students who were wheelchair-bound went to that particular school, no matter where their neighborhood was. With the building of this school, are we anticipating changing where those students with special needs will be, or will that stay the same as it is
So
now?
This school will have two programs. They'll have the lab program, and they'll have the high needs DSC program,
Okay,
which is an autism program.
okay.
But it's also designed to be fully accessible. So if someone is in a wheelchair, if someone is in crutches, they can access all of the spaces. There will be an elevator that's centrally located that will take you up and down from
Okay.
first floor to second floor.
And I know that it's not anything we should ever discuss publicly, but I assume that there are safety standards that are better than what we currently have that will be in this building. And it should not be discussed publicly, but perhaps at some time in the future, you could fill us in on some of those offline.
Sure.
Again, it's not our purview what goes into the building. I think it would just make the entire community feel safer just to know that there are strong safety standards in this building.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. We've actually had already a meeting with some of the security. We had a security meeting about 2 months ago.
Have you also met with the Burlington Police?
Yes,
we
we
met them
have.
a couple of times. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Let me go to the next slide. Well, one thing I'd point out is all the special education spaces are integrated with the regular classrooms. So this is upstairs. You can see there's less program upstairs. Those big X's are like two-story spaces. So to the right, the gym will be actually slightly taller than the roof of the two-story building, or approximately about the same height. So again, all the academic stuff will be on the left side, all the classrooms. So this will be like 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. And then in the middle area, that kind of skinny neck, will be all the counseling suite. There's a lot of offices for guidance counselors, adjustment counselors, psychologists, BCBAs, and then there's a bunch of several offices for the DSC program team and also for the lab program team, and they're all in that area. And then to the right, that orange-ish space will be the media center, which is the library. It'll be kind of right over the entrance, similar to Marshall Simon's school is. And then so we're also planning to have the art room right next to it, and this science, technology, and engineering room. That's the light purple color, and the blue one is the art room. So there's kind of like a STEAM suite up there. It'll have a gallery-like spaces. It's kind of our current concepts. Again, it's just a conceptual plan, but we're trying to organize things that make sense together.
And then I'm sure cafetoriums are a thing of the past.
Oh, no, they're not.
Oh, they're not? I was going to ask
We're
how
doing
that's going to go.
Yeah.
You want to go back to the slide before?
Well, I know the state won't let elementary schools have auditoriums, so I wondered how you would deal with that.
So yeah, we have a stage, a 1,000 square foot stage
Okay.
with 3 risers.
In the gym?
No, it's right next to the cafeteria,
Oh, okay.
and it'll be 18 inches above the floor.
Oh, okay.
It's the dark blue.
So there is a cafetorium.
There
Yes, it
is,
is.
yes, and that's exactly what we call it. So, perfect, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I guess we can skip on to the next slide. Okay, so construction phasing, just to kind of give you an idea, we've looked at how to build the school, so that kind of dictated partially where the school goes once we figured out the footprint. And as you can see, it's pretty tight because we need to maintain the bus drop-off on the existing school, build a little parking lot for the teachers and visitors, and also kind of maintain the parent drop-off. So we think this will actually be an improvement over what they have now as far as the drop-off concerns. But it will be, a lot of the site will be fenced in for construction. And then you can see those little blue dots again are the geothermal wells, which actually take a long time to drill. They're 500 feet deep approximately,
Yeah.
and there's about 80 of them.
So I'm going to turn this over for questions in a minute, but I just wanted to sort of restate what's already been said, that this is conceptual.
Yes.
And at some point, you'll be coming back to us for an actual site plan review. And I just want to make sure that not only you, but also school committee and school administration understand that that is a rigorous process, and we may require changes to this conceptual plan when it comes to the site plan stage, which is much more detailed.
Yes.
Just want to make sure that's understood. Thank you.
We'll probably ask you when it makes sense. Usually we do it during design development.
I
Start
think
the site plan
The sooner
review.
the better, yes.
So is that during the schematic design?
We're in schematic from now until June,
Okay.
and then we'll be in design development from whenever the vote passes until early next year.
So design development is when you would come to us for site plan?
We think that
Probably.
makes sense, but we're asking you
Yeah,
as well.
we'd like to talk to you about the schedule, actually, because schematic design is when we are laying out the spaces and making it a building. If it makes sense to, internally, and then we start looking at the materials for the outside, how tall it is. So it's not going to be really completely designed until the design development phase. But if it's helpful, we could meet again with you and share with you at, say, 50% schematic design, just to kind of share where we are with the design process and get some feedback. But we're not sure if that's your typical process. We're familiar with finishing up the design and then appearing before planning board for you to tell us, we want you to add a driveway. So we're...
Well, I think I don't think we have a typical process because we don't do schools
Okay.
all the time.
That's
you know.
fair, yeah.
I think it probably makes sense for us to get involved in that from now on, and I was thinking it might make sense for us to set up a subcommittee that's probably not just a subcommittee of planning board, perhaps a subcommittee of planning board plus either somebody from school administration, probably someone from school administration and someone from school committee, and, you know, it's up to them how they want to work that, but I think it would make sense for us to have a collaborative group. Does everyone think that makes sense? Sure. So that you'd have probably 2 people from planning and 1 person from planning staff, and then, you know, the school administration people can decide what makes sense from their side, but I think we're going to need to have people from both of those groups together, because we may suggest something that doesn't work for them programmatically. And
Yeah,
we need to be together on that.
yeah.
Sure.
This looks like Brenda has her.
Brenda, did you have a question?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to put forth a formal request to the school committee and school administration to be part of this process and actually put forth a subcommittee in regards to the Fox Hill planning process.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Can we do a roll call vote?
Chairman LaRue?
Yes?
Can I just get a clarification on exactly what I get,
Speaking to the microphone, Joe.
what's that?
Speaking to the microphone.
No, I'm asking that, I didn't hear all the words, so I just want to get exactly
I
the,
think what Brenda was saying is she wants us to vote that we would put a formal request into school committee to create a subcommittee that includes members of this board and members of their board to work together. Is that correct, Brenda?
School committee and school administration, please, Madam Chair.
Yes. School committee, school administration, planning board, and planning staff. So representatives from all those groups to create a working group.
so we can take a vote on that?
Do we need to take a vote on that? Probably not.
Put forth a formal request where we made a formal request, have not received the appropriate response, or at least what
Okay.
I would deem an appropriate response.
Okay, I mean, I have no problem with us formalizing that request with a vote. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, so, roll call?
LaRue?
Yes.
Rappaport?
Yes.
Sutherland?
Yes.
Impemba?
Yes.
Pavino?
Yes.
Natola?
Yes.
Gaffney?
Yes.
Okay, so our staff will reach out, probably through you, Mr. Kuna, to set that up. Does that make sense?
So you could definitely use me as a point of contact. I'm not the school committee chair, and I'm not the school building committee chair either.
Right.
So I can definitely
So
give you
who
their
is the
point of...
correct contact?
So currently, right now, what am I drawing a blank? So Martha Simon is the school committee chair, and Melissa Massardo is the school building committee chair. So,
Okay. I will happily reach out to Martha and Melissa. I have a feeling that many members of this board are going to want to be on that subcommittee, and I will happily take requests and also tell all other members that they're welcome to attend any meeting. There'll be public meetings, so even if you're not on the subcommittee, you can go to all the meetings. In the meantime, if you want to be on that subcommittee, you can either tell me now or you can email me later.
I would like to be.
I figured you would. Brenda? Yes, Brenda wants to be. Anyone else want to fight?
I have an interest.
Tony wants to
I
be.
live
Okay.
straight over.
All right, so we'll hash this out offline. Thank you. And thank you, Brenda, for that suggestion. Did you have anything else you wanted to cover with us?
Why is it not sharing? Sorry, guys.
We had,
We got a list of
We're not,
it's okay. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Oh, there we go.
So we have reached out to Mark Dupel about some of that. We did a zoning analysis, and it seems like we will need a variance for the height, for instance. And also, it looks like we're in a wetlands overlay district because of the vernal pool that's there, so we will need a special permit from the planning board. And just reading your bylaws, it seems like we need your approval for the loading design. Make sure it's not in a public way. And Mark pointed out that the solar canopies might be considered the front. We have an unusual site because it's hard to say what the front is and the back because the roadway is actually part of the site. It's not a public roadway. I mean, it is a public way essentially, but it's part of the property. So we may ask for an interpretation because we would like to become net zero, we'll need to add solar canopies in the parking lot. Otherwise, you won't have enough solar, energy generation to get to zero.
Okay.
And we did a quick count based on the zoning bylaws, and it looks like we need about 125 spaces, which kind of works out nicely with what the school needs. They have about 90-some staff.
Okay.
We're thinking about 90 to 95 staff with the new DSC staff. And then, as I mentioned previously, the height does exceed 30 feet, and it's in an RO district, so we'll need to get a variance to, it'll probably
Right.
be like a little bit
You'll need a
higher.
site plan review.
It's part of the site plan.
Yeah.
Site plan review, yes.
Liz, is there anything on there? Do you think there's anything else that should be on that list that's not on that list?
I think
We can always
still
let them
permanently,
know.
I can look at,
Yeah, we can let you know if there's anything else. Okay.
And then the overall schedule, I think we touched on this briefly, but the project funding agreement is kind of when the MSBA will vote. 8/24 is their board meeting. And then you have till 2/25 to finish up the agreement and get funding. So detailed design is our, making our construction documents, and that will go to the spring of 2026. Then we'll start construction around that time as well. And the project will take approximately 2 years with another 6 or so months to complete the site work afterwards.
So construction would start, if all goes well, construction starts in spring of 2026
Yes,
and gets completed at the spring of 2028.
correct.
Is that correct?
Yep.
So the first class to go in there would be in fall 28?
28, yeah.
Okay.
2028.
FY '29.
Fiscal year 2029, yeah.
Excuse me, Liz, do you have a copy of all this information?
I have an email that I can send to you guys, that I will send it, I got it today, and so I
Because
will
we can't really read that.
I know, I've been trying to Zoom, and then it's
Yeah,
taking
there's
me
only
off.
so much
I
you
know,
can do.
I know. Yep.
I wrote all over my paper, like, yeah, but you.
Anyone have any questions left?
Is there any more that you guys want to?
No, I mean, I don't think this is a planning board issue. I am curious myself as to what the Plan B is if this doesn't either get approved by town meeting or if it doesn't pass the debt exclusion vote. I assume you have a Plan B. You don't have to discuss it now. It probably is something the working group might want to talk about. Okay. Brenda has her hand up. What is it, Brenda?
This is the last thing I want to say, and I know I've hammered you guys with questions, and as kind as you've made likely to be. As a Foxville graduate, where you're putting the school, where you're building, or where you're proposing to build the school, there's a handful of time capsules. You're going to have ceremonies for that, so we can dig up time capsules that we did.
Sure.
That is a great
idea. Yeah.
Brenda, thank you for bringing that up. I've actually had a few people reach out to me to inquire about those. So we're trying to do some exploring before digging into the ground or anything. See who kind of remembers where those may be, because there's not exactly any plans for those where they're installed. So, but yeah, thank you.
My Barbie's in there.
That's going to be worth something.
And so this,
She said her Barbie.
Probably worth something.
Thank you, Brenda. We'll try to rescue her.
so the
Poor
last
thing's been
slide,
shut up
really,
for a long time.
we just wanted to mention, we have gone through quite a few meetings, but we have a lot more meetings to go through. We've met with Conservation for the ANRAD. We've already gotten the ORAD approved. We've met with Parks and Rec for a quick overview on the fields. We had a public safety review with the Burlington Police Department and Fire Department. We also had a security meeting with our security consultant came in, and the fire department and the police were involved, as well as the school department. And we've also met with Bob's teams at the BPS Facilities Department, as well as, we're actually right now just meeting with the staff at Fox Hill to design the rooms, what goes into the spaces, what kind of furniture. We call them room data sheets, but it's really just to figure out how they use the rooms so we can best, maximize those spaces for them. And we have a sustainability working group we've met with many times, and we'll continue to work with them throughout the project. And I think initially we met with DCM in, was it December?
Development coordination meeting.
So, but going forward, we will continue we need to meet with traffic and transportation engineering, as well as public works, building department again, Department of Health, Parks and Rec, sustainability review, and public safety review.
So looking at that list, I think planning is going to need to be involved in the traffic and transportation, probably should be at the building department meeting, should be at Parks and Rec review, the sustainability review, probably public safety, and the tree protection. We should be involved in most of these.
Okay. So pretty much all of them?
Except for Public Works.
I don't think that we have to be part of Board of Health or Public Works. They'll let us know.
Okay.
And same thing with Conservation, they will let us know what they're requiring. Okay? All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time. I'm glad that you're here because it is something that we've kind of been concerned about, that it was moving forward and we weren't sure how far down the path you were. And we wanted to make sure we got involved early enough. We'd been requesting that, and so we're happy that you're here and that we're going to form that working group so that we can work more closely together moving forward.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bless you. So, next up on our list, a town meeting update.
Yes, so, refocusing. So, town meeting is on Monday, and all of us have been working furiously to kind of, on the two large warrant articles, so the warrant article on parking and the warrant article on use table, the use table modernization articles, and they're essentially kind of rewriting chapters of, like, major chapters of our bylaw, and so it was a big, heavy lift. We are not going to move forward with a vote on those. We are going to postpone them until May. The status of the warrant article for parking and design standards for parking, that is with town council right now. We got some amazing, really helpful feedback from the chamber, some amazing and helpful feedback from ZBRC and land use, and so we had like a month and a half to do all this. Yeah. So, but I want to keep the momentum going. So when the deadline to file for May is February 13th, which is like 3 weeks away. So I want to have a final draft and kind of wash my hands of it at that point, so it can be ready to go.
So what's going on Monday?
On Monday, I am going to be giving an update to town meeting on kind of the process, what we're doing, why we're pursuing it, and then set them up for success at
So
May.
not voting on anything on Monday? Okay.
No,
Because
but
I did want to let my fellow board members and you know that something came up and I actually have a conflict and can't be there on Monday. It was very unexpected. So I'm asking some fellow board member, somebody here, please step up and tell me that you'll go and support Liz.
I'll be there.
Okay.
Yeah, I need to be there.
And Ernie, thank you. You're going to be there. Okay, great. So we'll have at least 3 of us there to support Liz. I'm sorry I can't be there.
Got it in my calendar.
Okay,
That's awesome.
great.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you all.
We'll bring the wine. No.
Still a dry January.
Okay, so,
What's next?
MBTA Communities Working Group.
So, we have our scope of work, we have money, we have our consultants ready to go. Last week, I sent out invitations to be on the MBTA working group. I have asked 2 people from this board, 2 select board members, 2 ZBRC, 2 land use committee members, 2 chamber members, and then 2 general public members to serve as people on the working group. I asked people to be available all the way up until September town meeting to work on this. My goal is to get the zoning passed in May so that we can have, we can be compliant. Because not only do we need time for the state to review it to ensure that we actually are compliant. So it's giving us an extra buffer. The September town meeting, I want to have in my back pocket, obviously, in case, it really spirals downhill at May. But the goal is to really kind of,
Get it done in May.
Get it done in May. And so those of you who are on the working group, the responsibilities or the request, I would say, is at first we're going to kind of really focus on defining where they're going to be, so where the districts are going to be. So as we've talked about in the past, there's going to be a district with existing multifamily property in it. So you guys have done, this town has been amazing at permitting multifamily. We're above our 40B 10%. So, you guys need credit, give credit where credit is due. And so part of existing multifamily, that's going to be part of the overlay. The second part is, I want to use this law kind of to our advantage and to our economic advantage. So given the market conditions, given the conditions of office space and that it's not being leased, given the fact that a lot of people are working from home and they don't really want to commute, and we are a center of commerce and a center of business. Something that myself and the economic development director have been looking at is to look at kind of Mall Road area as a place to add housing, to create a neighborhood there so that you could, if you're a doctor at Leahy, you can walk to work. If you're working at the Broad, you can get there easily. You will be going to cafes at night. You can get your groceries. So kind of add that added value to the area so that the property values in that area can stay high and look to the future for future development.
Do we have a number of how much we are required to provide for and how much we already have?
The number of units we need to make, so we don't need to produce any number of units.
Right, it's more of, is it acreage?
So we need to have, the minimum acreage that we need to provide is 50 acres.
50, and what do we already have that qualifies?
Those are questions.
So I think that those are questions we can answer.
Okay, so that's something the working group's going to work on, okay.
And the other caveat is that so we do have we have multifamily. If the multifamily property was formerly a 40B, that means it was given a variance for the zoning to allow for multifamily. If we put this overlay on it, I'm worried that legally it will negate that 40B approval, and they won't need to maintain their affordability requirement.
I'm not sure our 40Bs are 15 acres anyway, are they?
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't it have to be a minimum of 15 acres?
Well, it has to be
50, is that what?
15, isn't it, each lot?
So it's hard. It's like I deal in maps all the time.
Okay.
So we need to have a total of 50 acres in the
50.
50 acres in the
Right.
right. We need to have 25 of those acres need to be contiguous. So they need to touch. And the rest need to be in 5-acre segments.
No less than.
No less than 5 acres.
Okay. So as part of the working group, then we will discuss what we already have and how that fits into that puzzle.
Yep,
Okay.
Sense.
yep.
Or what happens?
Well,
We have to
can we
rezone
check, can we check with legal on, the question here of if we consider the 40Bs, if we put that as an overlay, does it now take that requirement away? Would we have town council look at that?
So I have asked her, we don't have a definite answer on it, and I think it's one of those things, because this law is new,
Yeah.
I'm worried that it's gonna be something that's gonna be fought out in the court system.
We may not.
So I would rather not touch that, because, it could end up, what if it ends up that those affordable units no longer have to be affordable and we're below our 10%?
Well, I wouldn't take
You
it
know what I
that
mean?
approach. I'd take a
Yeah.
little different approach, that if it goes to court, then, we modify it to exclude them, and we have a Plan B, so.
Can we
that's
pull
what I
it
would
back afterwards? That's a good question.
Yeah, I think
Change the
it'd be
zoning, yeah.
reasonable for that, and I actually was listening to the NPR just the other day, and it was a long session on this, and there was discussion about, is there things that towns like Burlington, like you said, that met that 10% over time and worked really hard for it, and other towns that didn't, and how do you equate that?
Right.
So I think it's still discussion going on about that.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Bill, because my concern is this law requires us to zone property basically to allow for large apartment complexes.
Well,
More than 15 acres per acre, right?
Yes,
Yes.
so
15 acres
15
per
acres per
units per acre.
units per acre is the minimum that's allowed. So 15
Right.
units per acre is the townhomes behind CVS.
That's 15 units per, okay, all right.
That's like
That
a good
is a little, because what I want to avoid is, I think the town has made it clear to us, and I think even the state has made it clear to us, that we have plenty of single-family homes, we have plenty of large-scale apartments, we're missing the housing that's in the middle. And I want to know if this can work to satisfy that need, or if we'll be pushed to have higher density than we want, and therefore create more large-scale apartment buildings, which is not what we need.
So again, what's the consequence
So,
It's a law.
so,
to not comply with this
So
ridiculous request?
so,
That's my point.
So what they have taught, the state has basically said that if a town does not comply, they are no longer eligible for large grant programs. So the MassWorks program, we wouldn't be eligible for.
And how much money have we
MSBA.
gotten on those programs?
Does that count the
$9 million,
schools?
Over what period of time?
10 years.
In a $100+ million
What
budget?
about the schools? Is that part of this?
Not interested.
No, okay. Want to
No.
know, just want to know. But the other thing is, from what I read, my understanding was, what the state was saying is, at a minimum, you will not be eligible for these grants, and there will be further punishments that remain unknown.
Well, I think everybody
a
needs to
threat.
bring a class action suit against the state is what we need to do, because it's outrageous. It's absolutely outrageous that they can hold
but
us
I think-
gunpoint, basically, and say, you need to turn your town into a city, or else we're not going to give you any more money.
But,
We can build that middle housing and
right,
stuff.
if we
Yeah, but
have
it's still
a certain amount
50
that already
acres.
qualifies.
50 acres.
Okay, not to go
But,
through the town.
okay, we have some that already qualifies, like Beacon Village, right? I don't know how many acres Beacon Village is. If anyone has an idea, throw out a number. I have no idea. 20?
Where?
Sure.
Beacon Village?
Beacon Village, off the top of my head.
Okay, so we have some that qualifies. If we can, what I want to figure out is, can we accommodate this request from the state while still achieving our goals, doing what we think is best for the town? And if we can, then let's do that.
So it can be any, you can have condominiums, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and we don't
We can
have to,
define it however we want. I mean, we've been talking all along, and Liz and I have been talking about defining or creating a new definition for
Zoning.
housing called middle housing.
Yeah.
That would be
Oh, I-
things
yeah,
like
I- yeah.
townhouses, two families, things like that.
Yeah.
If we can, and we might need more than one of those,
Yeah.
because this might be a little bit more dense than we need everywhere. So my goal is to find out, can we abide by this law without sacrificing
50
what
acres
we have built
together.
here, you know? And if we can do it without a huge sacrifice, we should.
Yeah.
If we find it's too big a sacrifice, then I know a lawyer that could start a class action suit, Joe.
Well, it's, it's outrageous that they're not only telling us we need to have that much housing, but they're basically telling us where it needs to be, too.
I don't think they're
That's
telling us
outrageous.
where it needs to be.
We actually
We're not- No, other towns
Other
have to.
towns,
They have a
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have to, yeah.
It's got to be on their commuter line.
No, we don't.
No.
They do, but not
Only
us.
if it's a rail.
If they have a train station.
yeah, I mean, I think it makes the
Ours
most
can be
sense to
anywhere.
have it all on a bus line.
Well,
And
that's why
every-
they're saying it,
And
because
every
they want
place
it.
that we've looked has been on a bus line. Like, I have no
Right.
interest in doing this in anybody's single-family neighborhood. This is,
Right.
that's not,
Well, right,
that
but
doesn't make sense.
in other words, your bus lines are still running through the centers of your
Right,
town. So
right.
you
But
know,
think about Winchester, who has the train stop, off the center of town in a residential area.
that's right.
They're in a very difficult spot.
I just think it's horribly crafted, and it's a...
Same thing,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
But we have more options than
Yeah.
those
We're in-
towns
Because
because we don't have a train
We're in-
station. So that at least gives us a little more
We're in a much better
flexibility.
place.
We are definitely in much better place than, I would say, 90% of the cities and towns that are having to accommodate this. We're in excellent shape, and I don't think it's a heavy lift. I also don't think that once the zoning
what they're
takes
doing
place,
to the
that
towns. It's
the
awful.
market is going to flip the switch and everything's going to get built in 2 minutes because
yeah.
the market is the way it is.
But
So-
if 25 acres has to be contiguous, and then the other ones can be 5 acres, that gives us some flexibility to create
Right.
neighborhoods of townhomes or things like that, which we do have a need for and can be done
I'd like that idea
we say,
better. like,
where we think it makes sense.
I guess the part
Like
that
Terry Ave.
really irks me, and you're right, you can craft it, but the part that really irks me is a town like Burlington goes out, it painfully goes out and plans the right way
Yeah.
based on what they used to tell us we needed.
Right.
And now they turn around and change the rules and say, now you need this much more.
Yeah.
Well, if we didn't have what we had right now and they
would be easier
said
to
you
do.
need this much, then it's
If
a no-brainer.
everybody complied originally, I don't think we'd be...
That's right. So the people that have complied and gone out of their way to plan the right way and do all the right stuff
reward for
are the
that.
ones that are getting more shoved down their throats than the other ones. So
Yes.
it's just, I don't know who comes up with this stuff.
It would
Where
be
they come up.
interesting to see how we compare with the surrounding towns,
I have actually,
data-wise.
as far as multifamily housing, so I actually did that.
Did you?
And Woburn does have more multifamily, but, I think Bedford isn't far off from us, and...
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think we're all kind of
They're
on...
making a mess of it in Wilmington, and the traffic is through the roof. They've put like 3 sections together, and
Wilmington?
it's awful, the traffic.
Of multifamily housing, you mean? Oh.
Yep.
Oh, that's exactly what'll
Need to
happen.
be more planned. We're going to be more
Yes,
planned.
we are going to plan better than that.
Yep.
But anyway, so have we already set up the working group?
So I,
Have
so-
we, no, there's going to be 2 people from this committee. Have we decided who they are? I can't remember if we did that.
All the meetings are public.
all the meetings are public anyway. If you
Right.
guys want to formally,
I thought you said you wanted to have 2 of us
yes,
assigned
yes,
to it.
yes.
That's what I was
Yes.
asking.
Who would like to be?
I would like to be on that.
Isn't
Anybody else?
Ernie on someone? Aren't you on that?
I don't remember.
I mean,
Do you want to be on it? Either one of you? Okay,
I'm flexible.
so Bill and I.
Bill, we need you.
Is that good?
That's right,
All
you
right.
need something to do.
We are going to keep Bill occupied in his retirement. He's going to be busier than he ever was.
so that's kind of,
Are the meetings going to be hybrid or no?
they're going to be hybrid. Everything's going to be hybrid and everything's going to be publicly posted. So it's not, everybody's welcome, invited.
Okay.
Last thing, just kind of wanted to give an update on the Civic Expo, and Barbara, chime in. So we had our Civic Expo, which kind of was like a trade show of all the town departments and nonprofits and committees of town over in the Murray Murray Kelly wing
Yes,
of
that's
the
right.
Human Services Building.
Joe, we needed more parking spaces there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was mobbed.
Yeah.
Needed a larger venue.
That was
Yes,
full.
but that's a very unusual.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
unusual.
I know,
Tongue in
just
cheek.
teasing them, yeah.
But, so we had a really great turnout. And planning board had a table. I know some of you came. Really great to see you. Thank you.
Yes.
We talked to a lot of people, asked questions, had great conversations. It was a huge success, and I think next year they want to move it to the high school, like the gym or something, so that more people can come. It got
I
crammed.
think it would be a lot nicer there because people could spread out and really see what they had to offer.
Exactly.
It was very.
It was really good.
So it was really helpful.
Good problem to have for the very first time they've done this. I think it was
100%.
great. I also was very happy that we had so many planning board members there. Liz and Caleb put together a
So many
poster board
posters.
with
That
what
was
people
great,
want to
I
see
thought,
more of in
yeah.
Burlington. Maybe you can, share the results of that
Yep.
with us all via email, because I think that would be great to see. I know you were doing double duty between planning and rec. I was doing double duty between planning and sculpture park. I thought it was a great night.
I really enjoyed it. I think that it was a really good exercise just for us as a department to kind of be able to
Yeah.
Do we have a budget for these type of things?
we do have money.
Like have some step it up a little bit next time with
Yes.
giveaways?
Yeah, we
Yes.
didn't have any tchotchkes.
We didn't have tchotchkes, no. We can.
That's okay.
We can.
Well, actually,
What should we give out?
And I know you want.
I'll think about it.
we'll talk about that
A little
tomorrow.
a uniform, maybe a little, you can all dress up.
Swag, planning board swag.
I've been talking with Liz about getting us jackets.
Yes.
We have jackets.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have a jacket.
You guys, we have jackets
Ernie has
from
a jacket.
1977 that fit men in my closet.
What is it, like a 1977 varsity jacket? Because that is in.
Think about what Paul Raymond Paul Raymond used to wear his jacket.
I think Paul Roth was chairman at the time.
I want a jacket.
Yeah.
Come to
So-
my office.
Liz and Caleb are going to design the jackets, and then they'll let us know. We'll have to give them our sizes or whatever.
Is that how we're gonna raise the money? We're gonna buy the jackets to
And
buy
raise
the
them?
special little gifts?
No.
No, we have budget for stuff like
We're
that,
not
for
buying the
tchotchkes.
jackets.
But I think it'd be, I don't know, do you guys want water, Yeti mugs?
I'd like a custom Stanley.
How much did those cost? A lot of money. Should I get one?
Listen, we can talk. I mean, I do event stuff, for my day job, so we can talk.
Yeah, that would be helpful. Yes, thank you.
All right. Okay.
One last thing.
Yes.
So am I on all these committees now that the partnership started up, the land committee?
You're on land use. I
And
don't know yet
now
what's going on with housing partnership.
They started up again.
Okay, so that's 2. Do you have any others?
I just signed up for this Fox Hill one with.
Oh, you did, okay. I don't know. I think, honestly, I would sort of say for now, go to land use and the Fox Hill thing, and we'll see what's going to happen with housing, because
Yeah, it's,
I don't know how that's going to go.
yeah, I mean.
Let's wait and see.
Okay.
Okay. And if it gets to be too much, then we'll just have to figure something else out.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
One quick thing, if I may, Madam Chair. I just want to thank the board. I want to thank staff and the applicant of the auto parts store. This is the first time in I don't know how long that I've driven by there in the winter where it has been
Oh, no.
frozen over.
Really?
And there's been no ice there, and everywhere else has ice, and it's
That's nice
really
to hear.
a great thing, and it's a big deal, I think.
Yeah.
That's nice to hear.
It's nice to have a developer to follow through on his commitment.
And I think,
Yes.
I think the building looks nice. I think what they did, we did with the, the retaining area there, kind of dressed that up a bit.
Yeah.
I applaud the board and staff and the applicant for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, anyone else have anything else? All right,
Second.
it's been moved and seconded.
LaRue.
Yes.
Rappaport is, she stepped out.
We lost her.
Sutherland.
Yes.
Impemba.
Yes.
Covino.
Sure, yes.
Natola.
Yes.
Gaffney.
Yes,
All right.
thank you.
Aye.
Are we offline?
Not yet. Hold on.